Hello, and thank you for purchasing my Classic Garage online class. The Classic Garage suite of products by Stampin' Up! Is shown on pages 42 and 43 of our Occasions catalog. There are a lot of wonderful products in this suite. They're going to make some great man cards, but you could probably also make some cards with the ladies, just depending on what colors you choose to use. So let's go over the items that are included in the suite. We, of course, have the Geared Up Garage stamp set with all these wonderful images, and a lot of these images have coordinating dies in the Garage Gears Thinlits set. There are 14 dies in this set, and the dies crop out, like I said, a lot of the images. We've got the You Jumpstart My Heart, which can be cropped out with this word bubble. We have the Happy Father's Day image, which has its own die. The Best Dad, which can be cropped out with this die that also has this fun little logo emblem that can go around it. The gas can, the toolbox, of course, the car. And then on the back side, we have the rest of the dies in the set, which are all gears. And the gears are really cool as they can be cropped out of cardstock, or they can be embossed into layers of cardstock, such as done on this card. And this is one of the cards that is included in this online class. So I will be showing you how to create that fun embossed image using our Big Shot embossing mats along with these large dies. We also, like I said, there's also a bunch of smaller gears that can be used in the same manner to create embossed gears or die cut gears, as you see here. There is also a piece of the Designer Series paper that can be used with these gear dies also. Now I've got mine set up to do some embossing, but we can remove it. And you can see that you can crop out these colored gears on this Designer Series paper. There are 3 of the large ones that you could crop out and use on a project if you so desire. And then we have a lot of these smaller gears. Here's the little trio here. A lot of these smaller gears that you can get cropped out of this paper. So that is another bonus with this particular set of products. I'll set that back on there because that's how I'm going to use it in a future video for you guys. So here are the rest of the Designer Series papers. There are 12 different patterns in the package, and you do get, let's see, 4 sheets of each pattern. Now, I have used a couple of my patterns up completely. I have just these small little scrap pieces left of these 2 patterns because they are amazing. So the patterns are all very colorful and bright with detail on one side. And then when you turn it over, you have these nice muted patterns that you can stamp on and crop things out of, or you can just use them as background pieces. We also have the striped metallic ribbon that coordinates in this bundle, which is very cool. It's great for men's cards. It's also great for ladies' cards. It would make a beautiful ribbon for a wedding card. So there's lots of different things you can do with this fun metallic ribbon. And last but not least is the Classic Garage metal elements. These are tiny little keys and wrenches, and they can be added to your projects with ribbons or with mini glue dots. And we do have a few projects that are going to be using these embellishments as well. So let me clear out all this stuff and get the supplies for my first project. All right, here is our first card. We've got a really cool motorcycle trimmed out, embossed with some clear embossing powder. We've got a little bit of dry embossing here with the gears dies, and then we've got the toolbox stamped in the background. So let me get my supplies and we'll get started. All right, here's the supplies. I've got the paper that has the motorcycles on it, along with the map on the back. I have an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of Tranquil Tide, along with a 4 by 5.25 inch layer of Tranquil Tide. A 3 by 3 piece of basic black cardstock, a 1 3/4 by 4 inch piece of this Designer Series paper in the package, and then a strip of Very Vanilla. The dimensions aren't super important on this, but you just want it to be long enough that you can actually stamp a sentiment. I'm going to be using a sentiment from the Itty Bitty Birthday set. I'm just using the Happy Birthday sentiment in this. And I'm going to stamp that sentiment on my piece of Very Vanilla in the Tranquil Tide ink. I'm going to stamp it sort of near the bottom and in the center of this strip. Oops, is that crooked? Yes, we're going to try that again. Okay, so we have our sentiment piece there. We're going to attach this layer of designer series paper to that and then trim off the excess. Okay, and I want it to be over the top of the words and centered on the design, underneath the designer series paper. Okay. Bring in some scissors here, and we're just going to trim off the excess. Like so. So this is what we have. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. Oh, actually, no, we're not. We're going to stamp some of these little nuts here right on the edge of the paper. I might pick that up just a skosh since I used snail there. Okay, so then we have our little nuts at the end of the sentiment piece, and we can set that aside. Next, we're going to bring in the layer of the Tranquil Tide, and we're going to stamp the toolbox randomly all over it. Okay, and maybe one little spot down here in the corner, maybe a tiny little thing up there. All right, so we have our toolboxes stamped all over that layer of cardstock. So that is going to be placed onto our card base, just like that. This piece will also be on the front. Next, I'm going to bring in my layer of basic black. All right, and we're going to use our Big Shot embossing mats for this part. And so we've got our impressions pad, our thin blue silicone mat, and our little bit thicker gray silicone mat. For this particular die, we're going to be using the blue mat. So this is how I would build my sandwich. I would have my Big Shot platform on the bottom. I would then add a clear cutting pad with my dies face up. Now I chose to lay my dies on here with a piece of washi tape just because that was a little bit easier for me to get my paper placed on there without it moving. Okay, so I've got my largest die here in the middle, my little trio of gears here, and then a single gear on the side. And I'm just going to lay my piece of paper on it so that most of the paper is going to be embossed. Take my thin blue silicone mat, place that over the top, and then cover everything with my impressions pad. Now I'm going to take this to my Big Shot, run it through, and I'll be right back. All right, so here is what you get after you do that. You have that nice impression into the paper that just adds a little bit more interest. So that is going to go underneath our main layer here. All right, get this out of the way. Next, we're going to cut out one of these motorcycles from this designer series paper, and we're just going to fussy cut this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video so that you don't have to watch me cut the whole thing out and have it take a really long time. Just kidding, it doesn't take that long, but we'll go ahead and speed it up. All right, so there we have our motorcycle trimmed out. Next step is to bring in a Versamark pad, and we are going to cover this with Versamark ink. So I'm going to place this motorcycle down onto my ink pad, and just so I don't get my fingers all inky, I'm just going to use my clear block here to press that into the ink, getting it all covered. And then I can just simply wash my block off, no problem. Okay, so I have ink all over my motorcycle. Put the lid back on. I'm going to bring in a little tray here that I've had forever. Any type of a tray would work. And I am going to cover this with clear embossing powder. Just make sure you get everything covered. Tap, tap, tap it so that it sort of gets everything. Okay, and then I'm going to take it over to my heat tool, and I'm going to heat set this and melt all the embossing powder. All right, so this is what I'm left with, a super shiny motorcycle, which I think is super cool. Now, if you want to add a second layer, you can certainly do that. Press this into the Versamark again, dip it into the powder, and heat set it for the second time. Move this out of the way. And now all we have to do is assemble. So we'll bring our Morotcycle in with some dimensionals. So we'll add a few dimensionals here, maybe a small one up here near the handlebars. Okay. Peel off the backings. All right, and we're going to set this onto the card. All right, so it's sort of near the bottom there. Then we're going to add some liquid glue or whatever adhesive you want. I'm going to use liquid glue just because when I have something that's embossed, whoops, my glue is clogged. So I am going to bring in my little pin pad here, and that helps me get my glue blobs out. Well, my camera died and I had already put this together, so we're going to just do it again for you. So we're going to add glue just along the center of this embossed piece. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and add the Morotcycle image so that it's centered on that. Okay. And then we'll add glue to the back side of this embossed piece and put it on the front of the card, centering it, of course. Okay, and then I added the layer with the toolboxes to the main card base, and there you have it. So let's get on to our next card.